that phrase is more than just a cliche? What if it's actually a relic of a totally different way of thinking about parenting? Well, today we're going to explore a really incredible guide to something called positive parenting that is completely changing the game for families. So let's dive in. So think about it like this. The old way, parental authority, that's kind of like being a drill sergeant, barking orders, expecting everyone to just fall in line, no questions asked. But this new model, parental responsibility, it's more like being a gardener. You're carefully nurturing a seed, giving it exactly what it needs to grow strong and flourish, all on its own terms. It's this huge shift from demanding control to, instead, cultivating capability. And just to be clear, this isn't just another trend you're going to see on your social media feed for a couple of months and then it's gone. No, this is a deep, profound shift in how we think. It's backed by decades of research and it's endorsed by some of the top child development experts out there. It's really about fundamentally rethinking what it even means to be a parent here in the 21st century. Now listen to the language here. It's so powerful. Replace, complex, demanding. This isn't just a gentle suggestion, is it? It's a real call to action. It's an honest admission that, this new approach asks more of us as parents. It's harder. But as we're about to see, the payoff is just immeasurable. And let's be honest for a second. This stuff can be really tough. It is so easy to feel completely overwhelmed and stressed out when you're trying to figure all this out. But here's the good news. You are not alone in feeling that way. And even better, there is a roadmap that can help you on this journey. And that's where positive parenting comes in. Now, this is not about being a pushover, okay? It's not about just letting your kids run wild. It's a solid, research-backed framework that's not only going to make your life easier in the long run, but it's also going to help you raise confident, resilient, and, truly compassionate human beings. Well, let's unpack this a little bit. Words like nurturing, empowering, nonviolent, those are the ones that really jump out, right? But what about guidance and boundaries? See, that's where the magic really happens. Positive boundaries and always fostering their potential. Together, it's just a powerful and incredibly effective way to parent. So here's a really important question. Why does any of this matter outside of our own homes? It's so easy to feel like you're stuck on your own little parenting island, But the truth is, we're all connected. And the way we raise our kids, it has this ripple effect that goes far, far beyond just our own families. Let's dig into why that is. A family isn't some fortress totally cut off from the rest of the world. It's much more like a garden. And the soil it's planted in, the community, the culture, the policies all around it, that soil has a massive impact on how well that garden grows. I love this phrase, a psychosocial ecosystem. It is such a perfect way to picture how all the different parts of our lives, our jobs, our schools, our neighborhoods, are all connected. And just like any real ecosystem, if one part is thrown out of balance, it affects everything else. And this just spells it out perfectly. Think about it for a second. A supportive boss who gets it when you have to run out early for a sick kid. A school that has a really strong anti-bullying policy. A neighborhood where you actually feel safe letting your kids play outside. All of these things make up a healthy ecosystem for a family, and they can make all the difference in the world. Now, this might sound like a pretty radical idea, but the evidence is absolutely clear. When we invest in supporting families, we are literally investing in our collective future. Study after study has shown that kids who are raised in these kinds of supportive, nurturing environments, they're more likely to do well in school, to have healthier relationships, and to become productive, engaged members of society. It's a win-win for absolutely everyone. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do we actually take all this and put it into practice in our daily lives? Well, the good news is there's a roadmap, a proven, step-by-step framework that can help you become the parent you've always wanted to be. So we all start at level 1, right? We kind of parent the way we were parented. Or maybe we just go with our gut. And that's fine. But as we learn and grow, we can move up to level 2, where we start to rely on the shared wisdom of experts. And then there's level 3, which is kind of the holy grail. This is where we combine our own personal experience with the latest scientific research to create a truly powerful and effective approach. And now we've come to the really big one. The idea that kind of ties everything we've talked about together. It's a simple idea, but it's so profound. And I promise you, it's going to change the way you see your child forever. Let's just sit with that for a second. Active subject with rights. Wow, that's a total game changer. It means our kids aren't just empty vessels that we're supposed to fill up with our own knowledge. They are whole, complete human beings with their own thoughts, their own feelings, their own desires. And our job, it isn't to control them, it's to guide them, to empower them, and to help them become the absolute, creating the best possible conditions for them to blossom into their own unique and beautiful selves. The choice is yours, and believe me, it will make all the difference. You know that specific kind of panic?
Oh, yeah.
You're standing in, I don't know, the middle of a grocery store, maybe your own kitchen, staring at a toddler who is just melting down.
Mm-hmm.
Or a teenager giving you the silent treatment. And you just get this sinking realization like, I am completely winging this.
It's the universal realization. I mean,
Right.
it's the feeling of having the highest stakes job in the world with zero formal training?
Right. And it's not just that you're annoyed, it's the weight of it. You realize these tiny humans, they didn't come with a manual, and you are entirely responsible for how they turn out.
And that panic usually leads us
It's
to
these
default to
tiny
one of two
humans.
things, right?
They didn't come.
We either do exactly what our parents did, or we swing hard in the exact opposite direction.
And neither of them really works that well, which is why I'm actually really interested in the stack we've got today. We're looking at positive parenting. Now, I have to be honest, when I first saw that term, my guard went up a little bit. Positive parenting sounds a bit like a buzzword for, let your kids do whatever they want so they like you.
It sounds soft. I get it. It sounds fluffy.
Yeah.
But the material we're looking at today is actually pretty rigid. We're pulling from a huge best practice guide from the Spanish Ministry of Health and Social Services.
No.
It's an evidence-based framework, experts from 7 universities, and we're mixing that with the Triple P, the Positive Parenting Program, and active parenting resources.
So this is not some blog post about how to, manifest good behavior.
Far from it. This is clinical data. It's public policy. And the mission today is to see if we can move the needle from that old school idea of obedience to what these sources call parental responsibility.
So that's the roadmap. We're going to break down that philosophical shift, authority versus responsibility.
Yeah.
Then we'll look at the parent traps that sabotage us all. And then we'll get into the actual mechanics of discipline. And I mean discipline, not punishment.
Big difference.
Huge difference. So let's start with the philosophy. The Spanish guide makes this really hard distinction between parental authority and parental responsibility. To me, authority is just, I'm the boss.
Right.
Responsibility sounds like chores. What's the actual distinction here?
It's really a shift in how you measure success. So in the old parental authority model, the metric is just compliance.
Did they do what I said?
Exactly. Did the child do what I said? If yes, I win. It's all about control, unilateral power.
Okay. I say jump, you ask how high.
That's it. Parental responsibility, on the other hand, it flips the focus. The guide defines it as parental behavior based on the best interests of the child.
The best interests.
Right. The child is seen as a holder of rights. So the goal isn't just did they obey, but did this interaction, foster their critical thinking, their autonomy.
So you're not raising a soldier, you're raising a citizen.
You are. And that is so much harder because sometimes a child exercising their autonomy looks a lot like them arguing with you about putting on their shoes.
Which is, let's be honest, infuriating. And this is where my skepticism creeps back in. If I'm respecting their rights and their autonomy, does that just mean I can't tell them to put their shoes on anymore?
No, and this is the biggest misconception. The sources are really clear on this. Positive parenting is not permissive parenting.
Right.
It's about exercising your authority responsibly. So you set limits not because I'm the boss and I said so, but because those limits protect the child or teach a necessary skill. You explain the why.
It sounds great on paper, but the Spanish guide brings up this really interesting point about why it's so hard in the real world. They call it the ecological systemic model.
Right, from Uri Bronfenbrenner. It sounds super academic, I know.
A little bit.
But the idea is actually profound. So imagine your family is the center of a target. That's the microsystem. But then you have all these other rings around it, the mesosystem, which is like school and neighbors, and then the macro system.
The macro system is the big stuff, the economy, the culture.
Precisely. Economic crises, work culture, social values. The whole argument here is that you cannot parent in a vacuum. If the macro system demands you work 60 hours a week, or you're stressed about a recession,
Patience just evaporates.
your capacity for this kind of parenting just plummets. The guide is very clear. This stuff requires community support. If the whole ecology around the family is toxic, parenting suffers.
So when I lose my patience because I'm stressed about work, it's not just me being a bad parent.
It's a system pressure. It's validating that this is hard and you're not meant to do it all by yourself.
Okay, that is validating. But let's look at what we can control. The triple P material identifies these parent traps.
Yeah, these are the default settings we all fall into.
The first one is the criticism trap. I mean, this feels like the most common one. I think I do this every day.
Oh, most of us do. It's that escalation ladder, right?
Okay.
A child misbehaves, parent criticizes, why are you so messy?
Child ignores them.
Child ignores them, parent threatens, child ignores, parent yells.
And then they listen. So it feels like it works.
It works in the short term to get compliance, yeah, but the cost is huge. The sources call it a coercive cycle. You're modeling that aggression is how you solve problems.
Right.
But more than that, the criticism builds resentment. The child just stops hearing the instruction. They only hear the anger.
You trigger their defenses, not their ability to learn.
Exactly. Okay, so the second trap, the leave them alone trap. This one confused me when I read it. If the kids are playing quietly, isn't that the goal? Why is that a trap?
I thought the same thing.
It's so counterintuitive. But think about it from the kid's point of view. If I'm playing quietly by myself, my parents ignore me. If I start hitting my brother,
They immediately rush over and give me attention.
full attention. So you're inadvertently training them to be bad.
That's what it sounds like.
You're incentivizing the behavior you don't want. The trap is taking good behavior for granted. You have to, as the triple P says, catch them being
But
good.
that feels so unnatural.
Yeah.
I don't want to jinx the silence.
Right. The sources warn that striving for perfection just leads to burnout. And when you burn out, you get inconsistent. You swing from being super parent to, I don't care, just do whatever you want.
Which I guess connects to the martyr trap. The parent who has no life outside the kids.
Yeah, the active parenting stuff is really blunt about this. If you are empty, you have nothing left to give. A resentful, exhausted martyr is not a positive parent.
Put your own oxygen mask on first.
Always.
Okay, let's pivot to the how-to. We have the philosophy, we know the traps. Now I want to look at the 10 principles of good parenting from Lauren Steinberg. The first one really stuck out to me. You cannot be too loving.
I can hear the skepticism in your voice again.
Well, yeah. I mean, we all know a kid who is spoiled. Are the sources saying we should just shower them with affection no matter what they do?
No, and this is such a crucial distinction Steinberg makes. You cannot spoil a child with love, with warmth, with affection, with listening. That makes them secure.
So what's spoiling then?
You spoil a child with leniency.
Break that down.
Spoiling is when you lower your expectations. It's when you replace your time with things. It's when you don't enforce your own limits. You can be the most loving parent in the world and also be the strictest.
And that's the sweet spot.
That's the sweet spot. High warmth, high limits.
High warmth, high limits. I like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of limits, Steinberg has that rule about monitoring.
The 3 questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. At any time, you should be able to answer. Where is my child? Who is with my child? And what is my child doing?
Simple enough. But how you enforce that has to change as they get older. The active parenting tips break this down.
So emphatic on this. When a baby cries, it is communication. It's not manipulation.
Right.
If you pick them up, you aren't building a bad habit. You're building the neurological. This is actually a developmental milestone. It's their drive for autonomy.
So when my kid is screaming on the floor, I should be thinking, good job, you're developing independence.
I know it's hard to do in the moment, but yeah, pretty much. They're realizing they're a separate person from you. So the advice is, pick your battles. Ignore the small tantrums. Use timeouts for the really big ones, but don't take it personally.
Okay, then preschoolers, the why phase.
The big challenge here is emotional regulation. They have these huge feelings, but no words for them. So the parent's job is to be the translator.
You have to label the emotions for them.
Exactly. You look so angry because your tower fell down. You give them a vocabulary so they don't have to use their fists.
And then school age, the parent as a referee.
Especially with siblings. But you're a referee who doesn't blow the whistle right away. You let them try to negotiate first. You only step in to enforce the rules if it gets physical or really abusive. You're teaching conflict resolution.
Okay, let's get to the mechanics of discipline. Because even with all this understanding, kids are going to break rules. We've established no smacking, no shouting. So what are the tools?
So first, a definition. Discipline is about teaching self-control. It's not about inflicting pain. Steinberg is explicit. Never, ever hit a child. It just models aggression.
Right. If you hit them when you're angry, you're teaching them that hitting is how you solve problems.
Exactly. So if spanking is out and yelling is a trap, what's left? The sources list a few tactics. Let's start with planned ignoring.
This sounds like the leave them alone trap, but it's different.
It is different because it's intentional. This is for the annoying stuff. The whining, the silly noises, all that look at me behavior.
The stuff that drives you crazy.
Exactly. The strategy is to pretend the behavior, not the child, a behavior doesn't exist. No eye contact, no sighing, no stop it.
You just starve it of attention.
You remove the fuel, and as soon as they stop, you re-engage warmly.
That is so hard to do when a kid is whining at your leg.
It is. And the behavior usually gets worse before it gets better. It's called an extinction burst.
Oh, great.
But if you hold the line, the behavior fades.
Okay, what about when they just forget a rule? Like leaving their backpack in the middle of the hallway every single day.
Planned ignoring doesn't pick up the backpack.
Mhm.
No, that's when you use directed discussion. It's basically a script.
Okay.
You don't yell, "Why is your bag here again?" You get their attention. You state the problem. The bag is in the hall. You state the correct behavior. The bag goes in the closet. And then, this is the key, you make them practice it.
You treat it like a training drill.
Exactly. It's not a moral failure. It's a lack of practice. Make them do it 3 times. Build the muscle memory.
Now for the big one, timeout. I feel like timeout has gotten kind of controversial. Some people say it's abandonment, but these sources still recommend it.
They do, but they're very specific about how. It is not about shaming a child.
Mhm.
First, there's quiet time, which is just sitting on the edge of the activity. Then there's timeout, which is removing them to a boring but safe place.
So what's the best practice version?
1 minute per year of age. But the secret sauce, and the part most parents miss, is the parent's emotional state. If you scream, "Go to your room," you've already lost.
You've made it about your anger.
Right. The timeout has to be delivered calmly, almost like a robot. The boredom is the consequence, not your rage.
That seems to be the theme here. The parent has to be the thermostat, not the thermometer.
That is a perfect analogy. You set the temperature, you don't just reflect the chaos in the room.
What about star charts really quick? Is that just bribery?
The sources say use them, but with a big warning label. They're for kickstarting a new habit, not running an entire household economy.
Okay.
Use it for a few weeks for one specific thing, like talking nicely. And then you have to phase it out. Otherwise, you raise a kid who won't do anything unless there's a reward attached.
Right. We don't want to raise mercenaries who need a cookie just to be a decent person.
Exactly. The external reward has to become internal pride.
For the last couple of minutes, I want to zoom out. We've been focused on what happens in the living room. But the Spanish Best Practice Guide spends a lot of time talking to social workers, teachers, policymakers.
This goes right back to that ecological model we started with. Families are part of a system, and the guide argues that these principles apply to the professionals too.
How so?
Well, historically, services would work for families. They'd come in, diagnose a problem, tell the parents what to do. It was a deficit model. You are failing at X, so you need to fix it.
And this guide proposes a shift.
A total shift to working with families, identifying their strengths. It's, I see you're really resilient in this area, so how can we use that strength to solve this other problem?
Right.
The goal of any service should be to empower the family to be autonomous, not to create a dependency on the professional.
They also talk about being proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah. In a lot of systems, you can't get help until you've already hit a crisis point. The guide argues for positive parenting as a public health strategy.
Meaning the resources should just be universal.
And normalized. Taking a parenting class should be as normal as going to the gym.
It removes the stigma. It's not, I'm a bad parent. It's, I'm acquiring skills.
Exactly. If we really view children as rights holders, then parents need the resources to uphold those rights.
So if we distill this whole deep dive, the philosophy, the traps, the tactics, what's the headline for the listener?
The headline is that parenting is a skill, not just an instinct. And positive parenting is this specific combination of really high warmth and really clear high limits. It's about understanding that your kid's behavior, even the really bad behavior, is usually just a clumsy attempt to meet a developmental need.
And for the listener who doesn't have kids, maybe you manage a team or you're an aunt or an uncle, these rules still seem to apply.
Oh, there are universal rules for human relationships. Consistency, respect, regulating your own emotions before you try to correct someone else.
I feel like planned ignoring of toxic behavior would work pretty well in an office meeting.
I mean, it does. It works just as well in a playroom as it does in a boardroom.
I am definitely trying that on my coworker next week.
Let me know how that works out for you.
Okay, one final thought to leave you with. The Spanish Guide makes this pretty provocative claim that parenting is a social resource. They argue that because parents are raising the next generation of workers and citizens, parenting is effectively a public good.
Which implies that society kind of owes a debt to parents.
Exactly. If parenting is a public good, then supporting it is a public duty. So the question is, we demand best practice from parents inside the home, patience, warmth, all of it. But do our workplaces, our cities, our policies offer best practice support from the outside?
Or are we just asking parents to swim upstream against the current?
That's the question.
Something to think about.
Something to chew on. Thanks for diving deep with us.
My pleasure.
Check the show notes for links to the guides. And as always, stay curious.